don't require that. I just, if he has any
No, I'll do it.
relative
I'll do it
or
right now.
rather relevant additions to make, then I'm here for it. But if not, then we can spin the finger.
I'll do it right now. All right. Let me review what was said.
Discord, if you want to take a second to think about it, I just got home. We can switch to Discord now.
Do you like
I wouldn't
Discord?
mind waiting for Discord a little bit longer because my hair is still wet. But I can't really wear my headphones. I guess I can get on Discord on my phone for now.
Alright.
So let's do that.
Right on. Is there a reason why Discord? You guys don't like this?
I'm fine with this.
Actually, I would request that we stay here because, tonight is too important for it to be potentially interrupted by anything.
No, but I have a server.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. After we got out of our last snack session, I was thinking, man, I should just make one of those. Like, I should just make one of those invite-only voice channels in my server.
No, but I have the server. Remember?
Michael Doug also had a server.
I made it.
Yeah, but like, what's the difference, right?
What's the difference?
You're
It's
on
true.
server.
Only you could share screens there. That's
Yeah,
about
there
the
is
only
one.
difference.
My experience with Discord is just generally more unreliable. Here we go, folks. Here we go. What a day to be here.
This is actually a great opportunity to make a channel named High Council of the Crucio Style. Excellent.
No, it's a great opportunity.
Beautiful. Add members. What
That's
the
funny.
fuck? Boys in the Hood. And Boris, bro. Who are all these other retards that I've invited to my server? Great. Cool. Alright, well now if we want to, we can head in there.
Well, we are already in a High Council of the Crucio style lobby, so
Right, I was saying if we want to.
I don't want to.
Synchronized vapes or not?
Vape that. Are those fake vapes? No, they're real.
That was hot. We just touched smoke.
Touch smoke. Alright, I read it. I already read it, actually, but I reread it. And,
What an upstanding member of Crucio Style to reread his notes.
I reread the notes. Yeah, love you guys too. I mean, hey, what's said already that hasn't been said, you know? We out here, we doing it, we're mortal and shit. We're gonna hang out, we're hanging out. Shit, that's about it. That's about all I got. I could say more, but, good job, guys. None of it is easy. But all of it is rewarding. And all of it is glorious. And all of it is noble. That's the word. All the suffering is noble. And to good end. So, yeah, we out here, and I have no doubt that everybody's gonna get theirs. And everyone already got theirs. Because they're mortal and awesome and stuff. So, yeah. That's about it.
Bye.
Oh, hey, before we continue, I just wanted to check. Are we recording this interaction?
I'm recording, yeah.
Fantastic.
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress. Enemy spotted.
I realized that combined with my OTB haircut, my tattoo, cross, and this thing just make me look like literally a generic village boy.
No, you literally embody the Gothic vibe.
You know what's funny?
So,
I was thinking about saying that just now, but then I'm like, that's so out of nowhere. I was gonna mention how gangster you look with your chain, but then yeah, you
No,
combine it with your tattoo and your haircut. It's like yeah, you do look like a Gopnik.
thanks, man.
would you call yourself a village boy?
Yeah.
I know what he's talking. I know what Artie's talking about.
Oh God.
You gotta know what the Russian people kind of look like. They're kind of
No, I'm there for the vibe.
yeah.
I know.
All I need is like parliaments and like 40 pounds of fat earned purely from kebabs.
And drinking in a public park on a bench.
Yes, bro, always. Oh, it's always them.
And the parks with like the little rotating kiddie rides too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it probably has one. It's like if you go to the project buildings and they have like their own kind of park. It's like every building in Russia has that. It's like they just have like a big lawn. Half of Russia is like those stupid lawns, honestly.
Right.
And it's never kids. It's always like middle-aged alcoholics hanging out there.
Yeah, about right. And all cracked and it's just grass. There's nothing nice there.
Well, fellas, I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but you know I'm opting to experience the divinity of your guys' presence as opposed to sleep, which I've been missing out on for the last 2 nights. So I'd be grateful if we could get the show on the road.
Yeah, no, I was thinking it's about damn time. So I guess
Let's start us off. Why did you summon this council tonight?
so. Court is in session. So, I've been doing a lot of James, were you here when I spoke about how the anxiety that... Yeah, you were here. When I was talking about how I'm able to like separate like my anxiety from the prospect of changing as its own energy. You were here for that, right?
This feels like a conversation we've had many times. I don't know.
I think it was the last time we had snacks. I was talking about how I realized that. I was describing to you how there's like all these changes I would like to make, and I realized that the anxiety, all that good stuff. So part of what I said,
my distracted soft-love spiel.
So part of what I said then was that these are thoughts that I've always had, but the reason I'm able to separate it as its own thing in my psyche and thus also act based on that information is that I've been able to articulate that in my own head and also articulate it in a way that I would feel comfortable saying this to people whom I normally wouldn't, who I'm still like, have like a fear of coming out as transimmortal, namely like my family and my roommates and stuff like that, right? So I've been doing more of that, like that process of like articulating all this stuff to myself and realizing, and by virtue of that realizing exactly what it is that I'm going through and what I could possibly do about it has just been kept going. And so over the last few days, I actually spoke about this to my roommate yesterday a little bit, a decent amount. But so like, what angle to tackle this from? 'Cause it's kind of multiple items here. So I'll say, okay, so I've mentioned how I don't really feel good here where I live. And I do recognize that there's multiple elements to that, right? There's the fact that, I'm surrounded by people that are giving off energy I don't want to align with, but then also that I produce my own energy that is rooted in fear, and that no matter where I go or what I do, that's always going to be there until I, resolve that. And that became painfully apparent to me when I came down to the city for a week, and even though I felt better, I still felt that, especially when I was indoors or around other people. I actually had a funny thought. Being indoors is like when you picture yourself as that what like that kind of like projection of energy that kind of goes outward and then loops back in. When you're in an enclosed space, your energy is like quite literally like bouncing off of the walls and then like hitting right back into you. So you really like feel yourself in that way.
Yeah, it's reflected, actually. It's a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of realizing that my I don't really feel good here, right? And I was thinking, for some time I've been thinking about like living by myself. Because it feels like how should I say? So moving out here has allowed me to kind of hone in on myself, since I'm the kind of more isolated and further away from, kind of like unwanted input. And that's allowed me to do a lot of like reflection and growth and progress. But I feel like that's coming to a natural end. That I now need a higher level of like isolation. Or I'll say I like solitude more. Like not loneliness, obviously, but just like a place where I'm by myself and I can focus on myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to explain this to you.
Solitude is the exact word for it.
Yeah, solitude. And I was kind of thinking about that. I was like, yeah, why don't I just move out? What's stopping me? Besides, obviously, I need to make some money first, but like, even the money aside, the idea, well, actually, the money's a part of this too. The idea of moving out, like, instills some fear. But I noticed that when I think about moving out and living by myself, it's not actually the fear of. I'm not afraid of not progressing or that I might not go into the direction I want to, but I'm just afraid of something else, something more like earthly. And I realize it's kind of just like money and not wanting to disappoint people, right? Like I live with my roommates primarily. The main reason is because I feel like I could at some point make money with them. And I don't. And my family wants me to move back in with them or come closer to the city. And like I express that I don't want to, but I still have this like subconscious fear of not wanting to disappoint them, right? And I realize that's like, gobbledygook. What kind of fucking reason is that to like prevent myself from growing? And I thought about like I mentioned, how I can articulate this to them in a way that I would be like confident that I'm getting the full message across, but also not come off as kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna go do my own thing, go fuck yourselves. And I realized that, let's say, for example, my family, right? They want certain things of me. Whether it's in a non-parasitic, whether it's in a parasitic way or not, right? They want certain things from me. For me or from me. Um, and matter of the fact is that of course, we know this, I have to do more growing and become a better version of myself to be able to offer something. But I'm really now feeling that I need to kind of somehow become like more, be more in solitude and live by myself and kind of do my own thing so that I can explore kind of like my energies and my actions without anybody like being right next to me and telling me like, oh, maybe you should do this, maybe you should go do that, which some of those things might be good advice, but I don't want that. I need to do it by myself, right? And I don't want excess ideas in my head kind of muddying things. So I was really picturing myself talking to my brother because, obviously he's played such an important role in my psychological development, and I obviously do care about him a lot. And so most of the time when I'm having these like deep thoughts and that inner monologue, how kind of like you have inner monologue, but at the same time you can't help but kind of imagine yourself talking to somebody else. In those thoughts, I'm always talking to my brother, like 99% of the time. Sometimes my mom, but mostly my brother. And so I picture myself talking to him, and I realize, like, man, I love you, and I, obviously want to have a good relationship with you as your brother, and, I'm always willing to, like, to visit, either for a couple of days to have fun or for an extended period of time for whatever reason. I'm, always happy to talk to you. If you call me, I'm going to pick up the phone. If you text me, I'll write you back at some point. I'm, I like want to do cool things with you in this life. I'm willing to do business with you at some point, provided we both have the ability, all of that stuff. But I need this solitude in order to become a person that can do that. And it's like you might that might kind of make you worry about me. Like, look, it fucking makes me worry for myself, right? Because I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. But it's like, would you rather have me? Like, what elicits more concern? That I go out and take a risk because I believe in what I'm doing, or that I return to comfort because I'm afraid of making my own decisions, right? That's kind of like an obvious answer there. And I was like, and then I really realized that, and as I'm having this conversation with him in my head, I really realized that, like, if I don't do this, like, even if I am worried about what other people think or want, which I probably shouldn't be, maybe to some extent, but I probably shouldn't be at all. But even if I do care about that, it's like, there is nothing that I can offer to somebody as a brother, as a friend, as a lover, as a fellow human being, as a fellow man, neither materially nor spiritually, if I don't undergo this process, which I know is absolutely necessary. And that's kind of it. Like, I'm literally saying to you guys what I said to myself in my own head, pretty much, like verbatim. And it's kind of a, this is what I meant when I said that this is a moment where I'm learning about myself and kind of resolving stuff, but at the same time it comes with a great deal of anxiety because it's like, okay, I've thought this, now what? And there's like only one thing left to do is go do the thing, right? And it's like, think about moving out by myself, and it's like, I have so many things that comes about. You know, where am I going to live? Am I going to stay in Albany? Am I going to come back to the city? Do I want to be closer to my family, further away from it? Do I maybe want to go to a different state completely? I don't know. And then once I do that, you know, let's say I already moved and I'm kind of closing my eyes and imagining it. And there's just like so much stuff that, so many like reasons for fear, right? I mean, because let's say right now, I technically have the means to do whatever transformational stuff. So it's like, what if I move out to live by myself and then I continue just like jerking off and playing video games all day? So I fucking kind of just ended up moving and wasting time and resources for no reason, maybe putting myself in a worse situation. What if this coding thing doesn't work out, and then I'm not able to do that, right? Because me moving at will would kind of rely on me having a well-paying remote job. Not that I think it's not going to work out, but it's technically a possibility, right? A reason for fearing the future.
Sure, anxiety will speak its mind always.
Sure, right. This is kind of just where I'm at right now. Yeah, I mean, like, I gotta thank you, James, because I feel like I wouldn't have been able to, like, I'm on day 3 of no fat, and I actually just feel much more clear in my energies and less kind of like, I feel less like a booger than I did a few days ago. I actually even have been eating less Garfunkel and more fruits and stuff. Kind of just, even right now, all I ate today was a banana and had an energy drink, but I'm trying really hard to stray away from the meat stuff. So I feel in a very like high, you know, like when Pikachu uses his final smash and he becomes that big ass ball of lightning. I feel like that inside. And you know how like you can't control that stupid Pikachu when he does that? That's how I feel right now. I feel like that ball of lightning that you can't control. And so the only way to exert control is by making a decision and funneling this energy into something. And even if I do move out, it's going to be some time from now. I'd probably ideally want to get a job before I do that, one of these remote testing jobs, so that I could kind of move freely and it not affect me in any way. And I'm sort of thinking to myself, like, what do I do until then? You know, there's like still plenty of time before then and now. And I kind of thought about how I recently told you guys that I need to kind of decide on a thing and do it, rather than just being afraid of all the things that I'm not doing. And so just maybe for the sake of my mental health, I should just be, you know, cool with focusing on this programming thing, because that could also help me be what I'm trying to do. And also in general, I actually came up with a cool phrase. Came up with a cool phrase, right? So I'm thinking of like, what am I doing? What do I want to do? What should I do, right? And I came up with this cool phrase. I was like, I need to bunker down, focus up, and then zero in on putting out 100%. And I thought to myself, in like 30 seconds, I was like, yo, that's hot fire. That's like
This
hot
nigga's
fire.
spitting, bro. He's spitting.
That was hot, bro. I was so pleased with myself when I did that, bro. Yes. You know, some
Yeah,
things.
that's hot. That's hot.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm just.
Also, I was laughing inside when you said feeling like a booger. And it's such like an apt way of putting it. It describes it so
I was
well.
thinking of like slimy and just like this, like
Yeah.
that kind of. Just thought of
like spiritual rot.
yeah, rotten. There you go. That's a good one too, rotten. But I really like booger.
But booger's good.
Yeah.
No, I think it's good. I think it's really amazing that you're going through this. I can't stress enough how exciting it makes me. Like, cause I know that feeling so well. I know the feeling of like sitting in this depression where like you just like you know that you can't do anything good for yourself, and like the feeling of like flipping a switch and experiencing the freedom of self-love. Like, it's such an exciting sensation. Like, it gives me shivers just thinking about it. Like, how freeing it becomes to realize that you can be that force of change for yourself. Re-realize it, you know. And then in the nature of what you're going through, if I may, just like give you a little something that like has helped me a lot, like these past like couple of weeks, has like really helped like make like, you know, because Michael was saying like the other day like it's easy but it's tough. It's really tough, but it's easy. But it's tough, but it's easy. Like, I think what has really helped me like make things a lot easier for me, and like and freed me from the burden of discipline, you know, is having a plan, that you like and want to do. You know, I finally like when I was able to let go of like trying to force this business upon myself. I was kind of like left with like this emptiness of you know, like unsure of where to go next, and like for me, like having my plan, because like I'm gonna be coming back to the city soon. I'm very excited about. I'm so excited to reconnect with you guys in person. You have no idea.
Like to stay or just for a long time?
For a short while, for a little minute. I'm gonna be there from August to December. You know, it's a significant period of time. It's the most time I've spent in the city since I've left in 2020, and it's really exciting. And you know, for me, like for like my plan, I realized like my plan is in this moment. Like, of course, you know, I'm so grateful and blessed in my scenario to have like loving parents who will always support me no matter what I do, which is like, you know, it's made this whole process like so easy. My plan being, you know, I realized like here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get my real estate license in the next month and a half. When I have my real estate license, you know, I'll be cranking out looking for jobs. When I get the job, I'm gonna move back to Florida. When I'm making money, I'm gonna save up, put myself through grad school, get my fucking master's in food science and nutrition, so that I can work on becoming my true calling, which is, you know, food healing as a profession. And I don't have to worry about the in-betweens, and everything else falls into place. And when I realized like I had this structured plan of like direction, it made it so easy to take those first steps. So, you know, like if that's something like, you know, a confusion that you have like as you go forward and like want to make a commitment for yourself, give yourself a structured step by step. You don't even have to stick to it. Maybe give yourself like 2 or 3 projections, 2 or 3 options, you know, and feel what works for you, feel what doesn't. And for me, one of my big confusions was, well, do I want to go back to the city or do I want to stay here and pick up a BS job to make some bread in the meantime, right? And it just so happened that I procrastinated long enough where like I'll be coming back to the city in a month. So at that point, it didn't really matter for me to get that BS job in the meantime anyway. which I felt like I needed to do first before the real estate thing. So it was stopping me from doing the real estate thing. But once I let go of that, I let go of the business. I let go of figuring out a job, and decided and made a decision to focus on that one thing. It made it very easy to do it. Um, so I think it's something that really helped me. I think you and I actually share a lot of very similar experiences of this overwhelming self inertia, um, and so I think that's something that might help you a lot too.
I totally dig it. In fact, I think part of my thoughts today was like, once I started thinking about moving out, like seriously considering it, I realized that it is in fact a way that I could structure a plan for myself, which is really cool. Because I realized how much a plan, like, how it helps, because then you're kind of, it gives you a sense of you actually know what you're doing, and if you believe in that plan, you can be proud of what you're doing, even if when you're doing something that's completely unrelated to the plan, you just have that like background sense of pride because you know that your being is attuned towards that direction of something that you want to do, that you know is going to put you in a better place.
Mm-hmm. And hey, not to add more confusion to your scenario, but if you're thinking about where to live and where to go, I'm just saying, Florida's pretty nice. It's great nature. It's great sunlight. It's near your boy, and it's cheap living. Things are cheap. Housing is cheap. Food is cheap. Um, it's pay less to experience more nature. But come on.
I know.
And,
yeah. No, it's actually a good point. I was thinking if I moved to a different state, I probably want to be somewhere on the East Coast.
If you're going to a different state, dog, it's got. I'm just sorry to interrupt you. If you're going to a different state, it's got to be Florida. There's no other choice.
It's like, yeah, I need to have more nature around me, and I need to live cheaper on the East Coast. Those are like the only three things, really. Yeah. And relative proximity to like things I would, want to have access to. Like I actually found recently this supermarket that's always been like 5-10 minutes away from me that I happen to never walk into a single time. And the one time, this was on the day that I went to that lake. We went there. My friends got beers or something. Yeah, beer. And I walked by real soap. And when I saw that shit, like a big ass brick for $5, bro, I was so hype. Bro, that soap didn't have nothing that I can't pronounce. It just had a bunch of saponified oils of plants. I saw that shit, bro, my dick got hard. I was so hype. Hell yeah. So I just would want to have access. I mean, Amazon exists, worst case scenario. But yeah, stuff like that would be nice.
Yeah, another great thing about Florida is you don't even need to take a shower, bro. I bathe every day in the ocean.
I feel your salt, baby. Salt. That exfoliation comes in handy.
It's not just salt. It's not just salt. All that salt is packed full of all these good minerals like magnesium and zinc. It's just soaking straight into your skin pores as a bath. Like it's like free Epsom salts,
I know, it's crazy. It exfoliates.
It's amazing, dog. It's like making that change, like quitting showering and just bathing in the ocean is just like it's been such an upgrade.
I might still shower though, depending on what my physical state is by that point, because I realize that when I go in the water for a while, whether it's fresh or salt water, and I come out, like by the evening, my skin will dry up and stuff, and I'll feel like a bunch of shit. That's like all my acne and stuff will dry off and start flaking out of my skin, and dead skin, and it just feels good, man. But it's also it's also signals to me that it's just a reminder that I'm putting in bullshit and that it's coming out when I go in nature. So it's kind of it just reinforces the idea. Yeah, it just reinforces the idea of being healthy.
I find for myself like I have this like great lymphatic massage oil that I use if I feel like my skin gets too dry from the ocean, which I don't really ever feel it does. It tends to moisturize pretty quickly, but I like getting something like that is really good. It's like I use like a grapefruit oil with like a bunch of other stuff in it, essential oils and stuff, and it's a great little. I was using it when I was doing the juicing for like skin brushing and stuff, Michael. Um, and it's a great moisturizer. Like just oils. Like you can, and it doesn't even have like, dude, you don't even have to like use like moisturizing creams or shit. Like, just fucking lather your body in coconut oil. Like it's all a nigga need. Um, yeah, no, it's huge. So Artie, it's very exciting. It's very exciting to hear that you're going through that. And because one thing I was thinking about when you were describing your simulated conversation with your brother, like I know how much of an impact he's had on you, like, and also for the negative. I know how much like he's like like you're the way you've grown up with your brother has led to a lot of your own like feelings of self doubt or like lack of self worth and stuff like that. And to have an internal monologue like that with your brother where it's like more or less encapsulating the idea of I'm moving on from you, to me is also like a representation of like you moving on from like that trauma that has held you back for so long. um, and so I think it's a really exciting prospect. That's cool. I'm happy you're having those thoughts. um, I'm here to work with you, of course, all the time. Just create a game plan.
Actually, the last time we spoke to the. Thanks, man. I love you, bro. I appreciate it. The last conversation I had with him was actually kind of a more not primitive. It was a more primitive version of what this conversation I had with him in my head. He had mentioned moving in, like before, like part of the way he like mentioned moving in with him, and I was like, I love you and I'm happy to spend time with you, but I told him that being in solitude gives me that kind of like it gives me that space to look at myself and how I am without unnecessary external input, and that having that clarity is necessary for me to make the progress that I want to. And he was supportive of that, which is cool.
Very good, very good. And that's another example of how like your own internal manifestations create the reality around you, right? Because now it's reflecting back on him to reflect back on you. The very same idea that you're having, the very same concept of moving on from this trauma. And it's showing you right to your face, It's cool.
Nice. Exciting stuff, honestly. I'm like super hyped for. Actually, it was funny. The last like 2 or 3 days, my YouTube shorts have been flooded with people talking about, like, warning about AI. And I was thinking to myself, like, bro, this AI shit gives like the illest end of the world vibes. And like, because I've been kind of making this internal progress the last few days in tandem with that, I just like it just built this, albeit ambiguous, a sense of kind of excitement for what's to come, which is cool.
I think there is a lot of things that are exciting to look forward to. As Michael said earlier, like the suffering is noble. I love that phrasing, by the way. That's a very good way to put it. And that oftentimes exciting prospects they do lead you into more suffering, but it's like right, it's a different brand of suffering. It's not the suffering of rotten complacency. It's the suffering of growing pains.
I like the term valor. It's valorous to undergo that suffering.
You said valor earlier, and when I was reading that to my mom, it hit me again because I was saying it out loud. That's some warrior shit. Oh, I liked that.
Same.
and the suffering is fucking noble, dog. So as you move forward and you realize like how much like anxiety and fear is surrounded with putting yourself in a new environment. Which also, by the way, you said something you said earlier struck with me is when you said like you came to this place to like with your friends to make money, right? And so like you live with this idea if you're around these kids you live with and you make money and you're not. Um, it's a very conscientious realization that's like pretty difficult to have when you're like still like sitting in that environment. Um, and it
Yeah, it
shows.
really was actually. I mean, it took me fucking 2 years and change.
Most people never have it, you know. Um, so it's cool. I mean, like everything you're saying, everything you're realizing is such a stark representation of of like a different like a new path that you're walking. Is Michael sleeping?
No.
Okay. You just have that open mouth. You have that gape mouth thing, you know.
Yeah, I'm
That's
just
him.
really
That's him
relaxed.
absorbing all the energy we're
I
funneling
know
to him.
Michael's the illest sponge, but like like before you had your mouth closed. Once the mouth gets open, it's like if the
Yeah,
nigga's
it's
Oh
just
yeah, that's
sauce.
true.
It's sauce as
No, but
hell with the mouth
I
open.
literally imagine our conversation exiting his speakers as like vibes, and he's literally just like vacuuming them.
Yeah, I'm vacuuming.
dude.
No, I am.
Literally.
I really am. I'm listening to
You
everything.
really are the vibe sponge, bro. And you've always been that way. Like anytime like we're in conversation, like you literally just like sit back and let niggas cook. I think it's so fun.
Cook.
Uh,
It's good
That's
cooking.
why it's so
I
pleasant
like
to
it.
talk to Michael because he actually listens, bro.
Thanks,
bro, he
man.
listens so well and so like fully, you know,
Thanks,
and he
guys.
makes an effort to do so,
Thanks, guys.
which is like it's what a quality, what a divine quality in a man.
Uh,
Because to listen, it means like it doesn't mean that like you accept or like it's going to change your mind or anything, but it shows like the ability of a person to like always be receiving lessons, like
It's another
because that
reason.
you go.
No, I was gonna meme. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like it's like it's like you take in the information, and then your mind does the work to like either receive it, reject it, interpret it, or alter it, and then like that's the lesson you receive. So when you're able to like open your mind to like always like receiving this information, like you're always going to be regurgitating lessons for yourself. And so to like because all the most divine lessons come in silence, come in like the pure silence. So Michael, your ability to sit in silence is powerful as fuck, man, and it doesn't go unnoticed.
thanks, man.
Yeah. I would I will always love this Sadhguru quote that stillness is the highest form of intensity, and silence is a big manifestation of stillness. Because people really just can't shut the fuck up nowadays.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, my meme was that Michael's ability to listen is another reason why he's every woman's dream.
Well, thanks, man.
That's why we
Good
never
meme.
get none.
Yeah,
Oh
guys,
man.
I'm listening to the cooking, and it's good. It's good cooking. I mean, I have some stuff to say, stuff I could say, but
I was about to say, Mr. Silence, it's time for us to tell us what you think of the taste.
sure. I mean, like, yeah, that's um. Well, mm, to start, I guess I'll start with it. There's more to say about it, but uh, I'll say more about it later. That I also have had a big energy shift the last couple of days, um, for in a really positive way. Though, of course, part. It's all part of the same process. So I'm not taking it like, oh, this good happened. It's good. It's like it only happened because all the bad stuff happened. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, it's all the same thing. It's all the same process, right? But just want to say that yeah, I also had a today especially, but starting on the 11th. But today it's really came through a lot. Just a feeling back in my heart. Um, yeah, so some cool. So it relates to that astrology thing you shared, James, is a cool astrology thing. Of course, I don't really follow astrology too much, but it definitely could be cool, and I imagine that a lot of things do line up with astrological events and synchronicities. I did notice the date was 7/11, which is like a meme number, but maybe it's also like a lit number. Like 7's a cool number, and so is 11, and it's
Yeah, they
seven
both
eleven.
rhyme with heaven.
Huh?
They both rhyme with heaven.
Yeah.
Oh
It's,
shit.
it's some shit on that number. No, dates are some shit. Like, I remember 6/6 was like fucking when the Canada fires were happening, and I felt so terrible. I remember I just felt so awful that day. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, dates are something, but this energy shift started around 7/11, and then last few days kind of ruminating in it, and then today I really feel very free and in my heart. Um, so I just wanted to start with that. That it's cool that we feel similar things um, in this collective simulation of consciousness, right? Um, so in regards to what you said, Artie, about the moving out, um, that's cool, man. I mean, of course, what you're half the best out of anybody. Of course, you know what's best for you, or even if you don't know, you have an inkling of what's best for you. Um, I might suggest not to FUD or uphold the decision. No, that's the same thing. Not FUDding it and not upholding it is the same thing. Not to
Dude,
FUD.
there's so much part in this sphere that nothing you could say could possibly misinterpret it as FUD.
Yeah, true.
This is absolute facts, Michael. Please have at it.
Truth,
Please
truth, truth.
blast my asshole
Truth.
with your advice.
Truth. So,
Please blow smoke up my ass.
blow smoke up my ass, you fucking donut.
Nicole Gordon.
um, nah, not to FUD it or not to not FUD it. Uh, um, and prefacing, I know you said and have to do this, prefacing that you know what's best for you or you have an inkling of what's best for you. I just know that a lot of people, when they feel trapped by a certain thing inside of them, they do want to go somewhere else. Um, and I don't think it helps them often, but also this could be like, fuck me, what do I know about your allegories, right? So it's like,
If I may interject real quick.
sure. I'm not fighting it. I'm really not. I'm just like,
No, I hear
food for
you.
thought.
I did mention this concern earlier. This is part of my inner monologue earlier today that, what if moving out doesn't actually do anything for me? But, I just kind of end up feeling the same way, just in a different place. And then I will, be more anxious because I made this big decision for no reason,
Right.
possibly to my partial demise. But like I really honed in on that thought, and like I kind of felt it out earlier today, and I realized that I really do genuinely feel like if I were to move out and live by myself, it would be. Or I made this analogy: if I stay here, it's kind of like if I'm a guy that wants to get nice and big muscles, right? It would be like if I were to stay here, it's like going to the park to do calisthenics on like the bars they have there. It's like, sure, it'll work, but I will be exerting significantly more energy and undergoing significantly more discomfort to achieve the same results. Whereas if I go to the gym, I got like the weights and stuff to, make the process more palatable. And so that's kind of how I feel about moving out currently.
I got you. I also remembered. Sorry, go on.
But again, it's totally not impossible that moving out does nothing.
Right.
Or actually, I don't know if it's
Arty,
impossible
Arty,
because
if I may, do try to refrain from offering a defense before Michael has actually made his point.
I feel you.
Oh, yeah,
I feel you.
because I remembered. I just
I don't
remembered.
feel like that was, but if that's the vibe it's giving off, then I would just end it at that because I pretty much made my point.
No, actually, I wanted to add something because I remembered while you were talking, I thought you meant moving out while like right now, but then I remember you said you're planning to do it after you get a job, and in that case, I'm all for it. Yeah, hell yeah.
But
It just seems like if you were to do it now, it'd be really stressful and you have no money. I just feel like you fucking,
of course,
you
yeah.
know, it's just super stressed about money.
Yeah.
But after you have a job, yeah, go wherever the fuck you want. Definitely, don't stay in the fucking sardine can. I agree. I agree. Sorry, I just forgot. I forgot you mentioned that you were gonna do it after. So I was saying that as if you're gonna do it now. Um, yeah,
I
no.
feel you.
In that case, yeah, fuck that place. Fuck Albany. It's cold and gay, and there's nothing around there. Like, fuck New York in general. Like, yeah.
To say what Michael is saying, um, in different words, perhaps to assume your thoughts on the matter, is the gentle reminder that there's no environment that can provide you your experience more powerfully than your own psychological and mental environment.
Right.
Yeah, true. Yeah, yeah.
And that,
Right.
I mean, I could say more on it, but that is really just defeats the point. I think we all get the vibe of that. It's a good reminder to have too. And I think it's really important to keep in mind, right? Because it's like, even when considering a game plan, like what will help me the most, you know? What helps the most always. You know, and this is what's been like so great for me. Like what helps the most always is like making the resolve in the here and the now to be that energy. And of course, that always comes with like, you know, there are things that are a fallout of that. Like, yes, like making that resolve like creates like a pathway for you, right? But yeah, that's all.
You know, I'll even double down on what you guys are saying. I recognize that in order to know that I have that resolve, I have to act on it and kind of prove to myself and make a statement that, yeah, I actually do care about this, and thus I'm going to do this, that, and the third. And
I think what you were doing is actually an example of making that resolve in the here and the now.
but it's funny that you bring up this point because I was totally going to study all day today. But I played a game of Dota and then I was like, fuck, bro. Like, I won. I kicked ass. I totally carried my team. But I got off that game of Dota and then I was just fucking doom scrolling for like a whole like 2 hours or something. And I was like, fuck, bro, this is so autistic. I went outside and started thinking, and that's when I thought all the stuff that I said to you guys.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Well, fellas, I gotta say, I'm very grateful for your for being for you guys being mediums of reflection of my ideas and my energies, because I know that you serve as a mirror that doesn't have any stains on it or any man sitting behind the mirror with his own intentions. I really appreciate that.
Ghostwriter, bro. Who's this kid's ghostwriter? He's fucking spitting, bro.
I thought of the what is it? Is it Sleeping Beauty? Where the guy, the mirror on the wall, that's Sleeping Beauty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys are like mirrors that don't have like some evil antagonizing cockhole mask behind the green glasses, like you know.
Hmm. Definitely.
And you know it because I know that your guys' intentions is rooted in truth. It I can I can be confident in any I can be confident in any way that my gauge of my own thoughts changes by virtue of what you guys say.
What a beautiful expression of faith, man. I'm so grateful that like you can look at things like in that thing without feeling like it's an attack, or that things are an attack, like for example, I'll give you an example, like my dad. If you tell him, even like suggest to him the slightest bit of something that he could do better for himself, he immediately throws up like the most violent defense. That's like so like it's such an aggressive defense that it's like he'll turn it into like an attack on you. You know what I mean? Um, and so like that kind of mental state of someone who like doesn't put the faith in someone's words, so they feel the need to defend their own energy.
Yeah,
It's something I'm very used to in my life.
I feel you. You know, I would even go as far as to say, I'm sorry to complete your thought.
You're fine. I was just gonna say it's very refreshing to have someone who shows me the alternative.
Yeah, you know, I can go as far as to say that I exclusively only feel this way with you guys, and on rare occasion, if I'm talking to somebody and they're also in a state of opening up about their anxieties, which kind of raises their baseline of reciprocity a little bit sometimes on super rare occasions. Like actually when I was talking with my roommate, because he was also telling me how he has doubts about our mutual living situation. But yeah, other than that, bro, it's the 12th, my nigga. No, it's the 14th. There's fireworks at my house. Insane. At midnight. But anyways, actually at 11:40 on July 14th. That's crazy. But anyway, continue.
I just wanted to make a side note, considering all this conversation we're having and, moving into like a beautiful heart space, given that it was your birthday recently and I promised you a birthday gift and the promised day has arrived. And I know you're feeling a lot of different things right now, so I don't want to add confusion to that. So you just let me know when you want Diablo and I'll give it to you. It doesn't have to be today, it doesn't have to be tomorrow. Just know that I have it for you whenever you want it, okay?
I literally you couldn't have proposed a better proposition, bro, because I was actually thinking to myself that if you gave me Diablo right now, there's no fucking way I'm playing it for like at least like 2 weeks or something.
Right. Yeah, no, it could not matter less in this moment.
It couldn't, bro.
And, there will for sure come a time when like you're doing well for yourself and you'll deserve reward, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do deserve reward. You deserve it always. But I think the peace and the freedom that you're providing for yourself in this very moment is more than reward enough.
And I would like to thank you, James, because this whole Diablo thing, which spawned the decision you gave me of not fapping or not eating meat, and me choosing not fapping, is what led me to the point that I got to today. And I have not received ever in my life a better gift. So thank you, man. Ironically, second to that is anal sex. My birthday. That was pretty hard.
Dog, no way you're telling me right now that what I gave you is better than anal. That's a compliment I have.
Bro, and it was from Hazel, and she has such a big butt. Oh, God. But anyways, thank you, bro. It's actually so crazy how this, like, how the chain, it's so crazy to think about how this, like, seemingly unrelated chain of external events leads to the most absolute internal transformations.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I want Diablo is because I sat at my cousin's house for like 3 days, like literally smoking pot nonstop playing it. So it's like from like it's basically from like 10-year-old discarded Splurn Town to what I'm experiencing today, which is just so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny too because when you were requesting it too, I was just like, this nigga wants me to buy Diablo for him. Like, who the fuck does he think he is? You know, like that kind of energy, like right. And no, I think it's beautiful because it's like it's something that I was like very like kind of unwilling to do until like just like gave it a little thought, and how like it was like of course it was never about the game to begin with, right? Because it leads us into like this moment where we're here now. Like it enabled us like all it enables all together to experience this unique moment of clarity and moment of peace and heart-filled joy together, you know. Whereas like they might have been like, you know, individual instances.
Literally, he gave me the next quest in the main quest line.
How's that been going, by the way? How's that whole jerk thing going on?
Today, I opened an incognito tab, and my finger started going towards the search bar, and then I was like, no, I will not, I cannot, under any circumstances.
I remember there were times in like the beginning of my nofab journey, like just to test my resolve, I would like intentionally go to porn sites and like look up like the most like horny shit ever and expose myself to it to like see if I had like the cojones to like refrain, you know. Um, and it's not easy, bro. And there have been times where I'm like, well, I'll do that, and then like I'll like trick myself into fucking nutting, you know, and I'm like, like I didn't have a result, you know. Um, I don't do that shit anymore because I can't look at porn. It's just like,
Bro, yesterday I was doom scrolling and it was like or was it today? No, it was yesterday, and it was like it was one of those dudes. It was like one of those channels where the dudes walk around interviewing libtards and like baiting them into making themselves look stupid. And this specific video, the girl was talking. It was like something about like a woman, like the girl was like finding an excuse for why it's okay to be a whore. And for a split second, it reminded me of Hazel. Bro, I turned that shit off so fast, and the first thing I did was I put on my headphones and I really started listening to Arabic prayer. I was just like, bro, I need God right now, bro. It's so terrible.
Nigga, praying the gay away, bro.
I deadass prayed the gay away. I never prayed the gay away harder in my life.
You know, it wasn't until you mentioned Hazel like a little while ago about the anal thing that I realized how little you've talked about her in recent times.
I'm happy to be able to bring up her name as purely a reference to the past without feeling any weight. It's a signal to me of the growth that I've undergone. In fact, 2-3 days ago, I said to myself, I was like, I'm actually so glad that I'm not with her anymore, because being with that chick completely, like,
Alhamdulillah,
bro, it literally paralyzed my spiritual growth. Like, halted it right in its tracks.
Yeah.
But then the breakup catalyzed further spiritual growth, which was Pog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good
No,
stuff.
Michael, I know there's things you wanted to share, um, about, like your days and stuff, and I, I'm so eager to hear it. So I would suggest that we move on to you now, because I don't want to be up too late tonight. I'm really tired, but I want to see this conversation through.
I
Um,
thought you had stuff to say too, James.
I do, and I have the feeling that as soon as I share my piece, I won't be able to listen as much.
Mm,
That's fair.
right on. Uh, well, first to reply to Arty that, yeah, that's cool. It's an awesome movie. Like you said, it's all guided. It's all guided. It's like you look back and it's like it's all guided. James got you Diablo, so you didn't nut, and then you had these realizations. It's all like a movie, you know? It's like you can't really control anything. Or even like you might be in a lot of pain for a long time, and then all of a sudden, of course, there was a lot of work in the unconscious that do that, but you can't control your unconscious, so it's like uh, and then it makes a conscious change in your energy that you can feel. And so it's all a movie. It's all guided. It's all trust the process. You know, it's like moments like this where you can look back and say that it's um, my consistent spiritual experience throughout my whole life. And this moment, for example, highlights it that it is all guided, and that anytime there is a pain in the future, that it is still part of that process, and that is not. There's no exception to that ever, in this life or in any other dimension or state of being, right? Um, I feel like that's part of the wisdom that we acquire here too, is just to trust that process. And that's why I say that it's number one. It's that really is if number one phrasings, but uh, just in terms of orientation, uh, keeping yourself oriented to healing, is that even in those painful moments that it is it's all necessary, and it leads you to where you are now. And so moments like this really highlight that. Um,
Yeah, yeah, you do.
yeah, and yeah, so that's lit, dude. That's lit with the nutting and the hazel and the everything. So, with me, with me, um, let's see. I just felt so many things. So many just it all relates to that what I told you guys a few weeks ago, or even a month ago at this point, maybe it was, but yeah, closer to a month, in terms of that realization about myself. um and just it's tied to so many things, and just feeling and exploring those things so much. I just have this deep rooted, especially yesterday and um, like the last couple of days, really realizing that I always have this negativity about inside of me. It's like such a negativity, or like a blame, like as if I can't enjoy myself, um, as if I'm not allowed to enjoy myself, um, and feeling how a lot of that is rooted in childhood traumas, and just energies carried over from childhood, um, and just feeling those out. Um, Today's the first day where I actually don't have the feeling in my throat that I had for the last 2 months.
Nice.
Mm,
Yep,
wow.
and
Uh,
it, yep,
Amazing.
and I feel very much in my heart, and that all the tension related to those parts of myself, I feel really flowy and not allowing myself not to have tension about things. Um, Yesterday, me and Nastya and Ulia and Ulia's friend. Ulia does this game. She actually is like a. At first, when I heard this too, I was like, Psh, as well. But she's actually a psychologist, I guess, or how you say it. Like like she talks to people about like psychology and energy and stuff. She's spiritual. So she's not
Does
just
she
like
give people medicine?
no, no. She on Instagram she just does like how to say consulting, I guess. I don't know how
Like a
else you'd say it.
self-help guru?
Are you
Uh,
talking about Nastya or Ulya?
Ulia. Yep.
Okay.
So she's a self-help guru?
Uh yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah. But she has this game that it's a board game and uh, not trying not to explain everything about it, but pretty much you play this board game in a group, and it has like cards, and she's like the game master, so to speak, in terms of that she like leads the game, and I've and I agreed like we go with Nastya, and it was like at first I was sort of like I heard about this 2 months ago, but I was like. No one could teach me anything about myself. Um, but this game is actually fucking nuts. It's actually like magic. It really is a magic game. Um, and that was just a even better explore. You guys should play it if you guys come to New York. We should play.
I'm totally down. Can you explain the game? I'm here for the details.
Yeah. Well, it's in Russian, but that doesn't really matter because Ulia speaks English pretty well too, and we could just translate it. The cards are in Russian. It's just like little, not a lot of text. It's just like some text. They read it to me. I didn't read any of it, so you don't have to speak Russian at all. Arty speaks Russian, so that's good. So both of you
I
guys
read
can play.
Russian too.
Yeah, boom. Um, it's like a board game, and you have like some pieces, and there's certain tiles like on the board where one of them can be like a message or one of them can be like a blocky thing. And then sometimes you draw these cards of people and then you describe what or of situations and you describe what you see and then there's a text that asks you a question as it relates to that thing. And it's just really uh, uh it's hard to describe, but it's wild. It's just what you end up describing is sort of Im- imbalances about yourself. Um,
It, yeah, I was about to say just real quick. What it sounds like is this game. It you're like the game makes you verbalize your opinion on stuff, which in turn helps you like self-reflect on yourself.
yeah,
Yeah,
but that's just one part of it. There's kind of like a lot of aspects to the game. It's not a complicated game, but there's sort of like depending on what tile you land on, it's a different stuff. Um, and,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of synchronicities
What's
with
the
like
game called?
I don't know. I actually don't know the title. It's in Russian.
So in a way, it's kind of like a detailed Rorschach test.
Mm, could be, yeah, could be aspects of that. Um,
What the fuck? Can you guys see me?
oh,
Like
you're
you're like
Can you guys
you're
hear me?
hella. We can hear you and we can see you.
now
Yes.
can.
Nice. I disappeared for a second for some reason.
Yeah, you. I mean, you're about like 10 pixels, but your audio is clear.
Well, anyway,
Fuck.
the game is the game. It's an awesome game. Straight up magic game, honestly. Um, I won't say too much. I won't describe all the. You can't win in particular, but it's just like you're not there to win. You're there for self discovery, right? But um, I won't say too much about it because you guys will play it at some point. So more
Yeah,
fun.
sounds fun. I'm
Less you
excited.
know, the more fun it'll be. I didn't know anything about it when I went in, and it was awesome. Um, but yeah, it just served as a really good exploration. I knew how to say a lot of the. It's just those things are connected to so many other things, but then it connected to some other like, stuff in my childhood too. Um,
Like the stuff you realize while playing the game.
yeah, yeah. There was some other stuff connected to my childhood as well. Just like I was always like a shy boy, and that shyness sort of turned into disconnection and like toxic pride, um, or I in some capacity from my mom I like treat it's an unconscious tendency. It would be too like how to say like disgusting to like acknowledge it consciously, right, and have it still exist. But uh, I felt that I have like a tendency to like treat people as pawns, um, like seeing how people could serve me rather than like just there for the connection itself. Um, Whether they provide like some sort of convenience in my life or uh, you know what I mean, like treating people as resources rather than as some
Mm-hmm.
people to genuinely connect with, or treating people like and part of that could be like it's a game about relationships mostly, not like boyfriend girlfriend relationships necessarily, but it's a game about your relationship with other people, but obviously that like goes way deep into yourself, right? um, but yeah, and I think I kind of like picked that up from my mom because she's always sort of like a strategist kind of in terms of her life, right? And seeing kind of what um I feel like I picked up that tendency from my mom and maybe my dad to some extent, but especially my mom. Um and yeah, so those are two concrete things. And then during the game, I'm just like, man, I am always so just like negative. I'm always so like something's not enough, or I'm not enough, or like I'm not doing something right, or which, to be fair, there is of course, nobody's the truest version of themselves here, but to always be consumed by negativity, it's like, it's that's not helping either, you know, um, and just feeling how I
Can I
often,
can I provide an alternate vocabulary that might describe the feeling?
sure,
I also recognize you're very critical. Um, I think perhaps that might serve as a better use than negative because I don't think you're a negative person. I think you're quite the opposite. Actually, you're quite the optimist. Um, but you're very critical. You like to pick things apart and find their weaknesses
right,
and you focus on that.
I feel you, dude. I mean, yeah, that's like outwardly, I'm like, as you described, but inwardly, just in my relationship to myself, I always feel
Mm.
like I almost, it's like I don't have the right to be happy right now, or I don't have the
Mm.
right to feel joy or to feel relaxed because I have something to do, you know, which is a funny paradox. That's why it's all funny paradox. It's easy and it's hard. Like, well, step into relaxation. Allow yourself just like for a moment to feel joy and relaxation, and then see what happens to your imbalances, right? Instead of being like consumed by them. Funny paradox stuff, you know. Um, it's just like trust that you're allowed to feel good, and then what happens to your imbalances then? You know, it's funny shit. Which is why all this energy stuff. The last couple of days I've been at a lack of words for dealing with energy because it's like reminds me that at the end of the day, oh man, so paradoxical how it goes, and only each person can know themselves best. Though of course there's definitely similarities, and probably a lot of similarities in these things, but just navigating that the corridors of our minds, um, that's you know, that's just an energy thing. So
Mm,
yeah, but
that's really cool.
yep. But yeah, I did feel like I do have this that feeling that like man, you really just like fucking don't let yourself have any fun. Um, off of what like obviously there's things to do here. Obviously we're all unresolved to varying degrees and in different aspects, but it's like you just trust that you're allowed to feel joy and relaxation. Even just trust that for a moment. Trust that you're allowed to feel that. That it's like good. It'll be good for you, and then you do, and then it's like there's just a completely new perspective on all the imbalances and old energies. I mean that's like how you transmute them, right? It's like, or I mean it's all like transmuting them, like being consumed by them and coming out of them, right? Um, so it's all nutty, awesome stuff. And right now I feel. Also, I wanted to mention this that I know this before. Those feelings of anxiety and a depression and overthinking and like sort of like being in this like loop of thoughts and fear, right? Is not to say thoughts are bad, but when they're sort of like choking thoughts, like they're like suffocating thoughts, being like trapped by certain thoughts, is that the energy is for me when I feel that way. It's because my energy is in my head. It's like actually you could feel it. Is like when your energy like in your head, you know. Um,
Big time.
yep. And that was the feeling with my throat because I could. It's as if like all this energy is in my head and then my throat's like locked up and that energy can't go into my heart. Um, and today I could very much feel how my energy is in my heart. Um, any beauty that we feel comes literally from this area. Like it doesn't really come from the head, um, which is cool just in terms of the like body relation, right? Um, and so yeah, staying in that heart. That's a good time. A good time. But I really felt that today.
It's a really beautiful description. Um, they're talking about how I can envision. Getting feedback, but
Hmm.
I can envision like the idea of um, like energy being blocked in a certain place of the body, and seeing that like seeing how it can't move to another area because of like conscious like things we put on ourselves. That's a very very strong connection to chakras. I like that you're able to
Definitely.
see that. I really liked your description of what you said about like how you're at a loss to describe energies because it's so paradoxical. Like how it all just it's so easy to supply words for something to describe something, and like every time we do it, like it's this realization that it's never enough to describe it, and so it's like being at a loss for words is like placing the trust that like you understand it without having to describe it. Um, because it's just, that's what acid is, right? It's just the flow, and the flow communicates its own symbols. That's kind of what I was like saying a couple days ago about like the fingertips and the fingerprints and stuff, right? Like it's almost like these, like your fingerprints are like their own characters of writing, that spell out your name. You know what I mean? Whereas like like that flow of energy describes this own like symbolic truth that is beyond a word. So I really liked that. Oh, you said that.
Definitely, Brody. Definitely.
No, I just had a thought. You can this pertains to what Michael was saying. I just had this interesting visualization in my head where, like, I don't know if this is something you guys ever maybe thought about, but maybe you felt it but haven't quite articulated it. Like when you have imbalances, there's sort of like two sides of imbalances where there's many stages of imbalances, and the first one is recognizing that you have that imbalance or feeling it in a as an individual thing for the first time. But really, there's two sides of imbalances where, like, first you're kind of like just imbalanced, and it's eating away at you in whatever form it is. It could be anxiety, it could be external things that you don't want. But then you kind of take this action, you take some sort of action or have some sort of thought, and from there, it kind of just feels like the imbalance will just like automatically. I mean, everything happens automatically in a way, right? But what I mean by automatically here is like you've taken the action, and now there's kind of just no going back. Now the imbalance will slowly start to unravel itself. Have you guys ever had that feeling?
Definitely.
Yeah. So I had an interesting thought where I pictured an imbalance in my head as like pictured a twine of energy, and there's a knot in the middle, and it's a very painful knot. And so taking that action that begins the process of undoing the imbalance is like tugging on the twine and pulling the knot apart. Sort of like you go like this and like it pulls apart. And that initial thing is very uncomfortable because the knot is being pulled apart. But then instead of kind of just like straightening out, like how you'd imagine a yarn straighten out, instead what happens is like once the knot pulls apart, it like that twine starts like rippling in both directions. And then like the rippling is the process of that imbalance becoming undone, and kind of like the happy and the sad moments that you go through while you're thinking about this stuff and kind of seeing things play out in the external as a reflection of that. And then only like once that is fully resolved is when the twine like completely evens out. And so the reason I thought about this is I find it very interesting, Michael, how this imbalance, I find it really interesting how this imbalance of yours, it started as you recognizing that or correct me if I'm wrong here, but from my recollection of what you've said, you had this like feeling in your throat, and you started thinking about how you maybe don't treat people correctly or the best that you feel like you can or ought to, and that you limit yourself by looking down upon people in a certain way. And of course you realize how this stems from your childhood and stuff like that. And I find it really interesting how you recently reconnected with Nastya, and it kind of aided aided you in continuing that sort of like unraveling of that imbalance because you started to understand it better, and because you're interacting with like another human being again, it served as a, like, your interaction served as a reflection of what you got going on inside. And then just now you played this game, and in your own words you kind of set aside this, oh man, this is like you set aside this attitude towards people. And of all things, a fucking board game like helped you realize this shit. And I think it's really cool because if my intuition is correct, which I think given the nature of our relationships it might be, I think this particular imbalanced thing that you're going through these last however many months it's been, that you've already taken the action that pulls apart the knot and sends the twine into ripples. And now that you're feeling better, the twine is like evening out. And I'm really excited for you, man. I'm happy for you, of course, but I'm also excited for you because I think since this imbalance is starting to even out, you're about to enter another chapter in your transformational cycle where this will even out completely, and then you'll be fucking blasting out of your ass with energy because like you can fucking breathe again, and you're gonna be able to interact with people in a much more lighthearted and constructive manner. But also, since this imbalance is undone, just like fucking on to the next one.
Yeah.
And I think that's really sick, man. I think that's really sick. I'm super happy for you. And while you were talking about it, I kind of like wanted to say things here and there because I was like, yeah, Michael, I noticed that about you. You're kind of like a fucking asshole to people. But but I had to let you cook, of course, and just let it naturally play out. And yeah, man, looking back at just kind of the period of time that I've known you, it's interesting that you say that this started since your childhood, because I, like, kind of for the first chapter of our friendship, I never really got that vibe from you. Maybe towards certain people, like when you were in your communist days, you were like, yo, these capitalists are fucking stupid, just as an example. But I never like got the vibe from you that you like kind of would just shut out people purely because their vision doesn't align with yours. Maybe until the point that maybe like once you started like wanting to be homeless and stuff, that's where it started. But I feel like there's a reason I'm saying this little segment here now, and I'm kind of trying to figure it out. Perhaps this is where it like what I'm trying to touch on isn't about you necessarily, but kind of just a general thing where the imbalances that we have, or rather, let's say that this serves as a good reminder that the imbalances that we have can sometimes lead us into thinking like, oh yeah, like that's that person or that idea or that thing or object or phrase or whatever it is like complete fucking nonsense. There's no way there's any truth to that, and there's no way that I'm going to even give a single fart of attention to that. Especially considering how the immortality gives quite the ego. But as it turns out, even in the simplest of things, such as board games, or in the simplest of interactions, such as the friends that James or I have that we would not consider S tier, there can be like a world of discovery and beauty. And I think that's really cool because sometimes when we think about our immortality and the fact that this is just like a purging process, us being here, we might forget that there's also a lot of like sick stuff here that we can enjoy and I think and really make the most of. And I feel like keeping that in mind is paramount to going through this lifetime as like seeing it as a place where we can actually truly create heaven for ourselves rather than just like this like grueling process that we must begrudgingly accept. So Michael, I must thank you for I have to thank you for what you said because that allowed me to put that thought together, actually.
Right on. I have a lot to reply to that, actually. Um, James, I hope you're okay with that because I know you said you wanted to go to sleep earlier.
Thank you. Please be at will. I will hope to transition to my story time at around 12:30.
Right on. Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, I'll say, I dig it definitely. Um, I guess I'll phrase it like this: is that and then connected to what you said. Um, for me, it's not necessarily that I'm an asshole that is the problem. Um, it's more
Poor
so.
phrasing on my part. I just wanted to keep it short.
No,
Also
no,
in the interest of time.
like I was an asshole, right, and am right, whatever. Um, that imbalance, right, but that is sort of just the external expression of a whole lot of tension and unresolved, fears about myself, about other people. Um, it's the underlying tension that leads to that behavior that's the problem. As to how much the behavior actually changes externally, um, will be a question, right? Because I still think that certain people are come as tests to be parasites introduced by the lovely simulation of consciousness to come and parasite your energy so that you know where to set healthy boundaries in your energy. And so I think some people truly don't have anything to offer. I, you know, as far as I'm concerned, most people are still NPCs. Not to say disregard them entirely, but just that there is still energetic discernment to be had in regards to anything, in regards to people, what you watch, what you eat, what you smoke, right? It's like energetic discernment with everything, right? How it makes you feel, how it interacts with your energy. Uh, like you said before, there's still retards, like objectively speaking, like it's, you know, um, and so that to have a healthy boundary of your energy, um, while at the same time, yes, being receptive and not necessarily writing someone off or how to say being so edgy about like to other people just because you're kind of like afraid to open up, right? So it's like that asshole behavior is would be like the the symptom of those uh, fears and childhood traumas or you know imbalances, whatever you want to call them, unresolved things about uh, ourselves or myself. Um, But yeah, just like being able to talk to anybody without tension, without some need to like size them up or like how to say. Well, we're always kind of sizing it. Like you size it up. You could size it up in your head or in your heart, right? That's kind of the difference. In your heart, it's like you could tell when you like talking to someone or if they're just talking and talking. Like I'm not gonna talk to a drunk like Jeremy for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Like a drunk Jeremy on cocaine for 3 hours and be like, oh, well, maybe he has something to offer. Like, you can make it, how to say, less.
You can make it bearable.
Yeah, but not even. It's like I wanted to use that word, but I wanted to say more that it's like you could just have no tension in any situation. Whether you want to talk to someone, whether you don't want to talk to someone, you could tell them, "Hey, I don't really want to talk to you." That we should be able to do that. You know what I mean? Without fear of upsetting them. Just be like, I don't think it's very constructive, or like, hey, I'm kind of tired, or hey, you've been talking a lot. Whatever you think. But there's a difference between that and a true energetic discernment and an honest response, which may make you seem like an asshole, right? But it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter that's their problem if you look like an asshole because you're just being true to yourself. But there's a difference between that and like having an auto self-defense mechanism that doesn't let you use that discernment. And people are brought to us as mirrors, as anything that we dislike about a person or that irks us about a person is something that actually irks us about ourselves, for example, or anything that we find inspiring in a person is actually something that a piece of ourselves that we lost, and so we see it in someone else and we want that, and so we kind of feel inspired by them. So people serve as mirrors, and in that way, just interacting with people without tension or without these self-defense mechanisms would be the most healing thing, in that you could see these things right, like as they relate to yourself, just how their energy mirrors yours, even if consciously you're not on the same thing, right? But yeah, so I guess I just wanted to make that clarification that it's like I'm still fine and okay with being an asshole by like external standards if that means being true to my energy. I just was not being true to my energy, and those imbalances don't let me be true to my energy. They just cover up connection or any. They just like cover everything up with a bunch of tension and edginess, And so it's like,
yeah,
that's just basic bitch shit. I also thought of it too because it made me feel cool. It made me feel like, oh yeah, I'm just like a brooding motherfucker. But it's like that's not even cool, dude. That's like so basic. It's like everybody's like brooding and grumpy. That's the basic bitch shit.
This is like the.
What did you say, James?
I said it's a teenage girl's wet dream.
Yeah. It's like this is completely so basic. What's not basic is to actually like be centered in your energy and know where to do healthy boundaries and be honest with yourself while at the same time being open to others. That's actually based. But to be on either side of the spectrum is pretty basic.
This is like the immortal version of the "Am I the Asshole" subreddit.
I haven't been there, but I get the joke. I get the vibe. But yeah. But it's only like, this last like month where I really seen how, because it surprised me too, because it's like I know I usually can see where the illusions lie, like in my spirit and such, what imbalances are like kind of holding me down in my head. But just I never really connected it ever to like childhood behaviors, just childhood, how I felt as a kid, and it's kind of surprising that for like last 4 years where this is like I could honestly say every day it's like the main focus of my life, that it's like I never really looked at the childhood stuff. and it's really helpful.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about like like how the best divine lessons that I ever get are always when I'm able to synthesize childhood energies to my current ones, because it describes such, it's like a radio wave, it's such a long form of energy, that describes like the entire pattern rather than like an inspiration you have from yesterday or something,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it like it's like hearing the entire orchestral soundtrack all at once.
yeah. No, that's shit is potent. Shit is so potent, dude. I just didn't know what to do with it back then. And then you just forgot about it, and like you dig it up, and it's like, whoa, that's a lot.
Uh, Isn't that so amazing? Like the tools we receive every single day that you don't realize that you're not able to do anything with them in that moment. And then when you give that trust that you always, that you, Michael, always encourage both of us to keep in mind at all points in our life, when you give the trust that I don't have, I don't have the equipment to use these tools right now, but these tools are useful for me and they will be useful for me, is so, well, it's so valuable. Because when you give the trust that those tools will be useful for you, and then when your trust is rewarded in the moment when the tool becomes useful for you, it allows you to open the gate for that energy to flow and for the truth to be understood in a way that the gate would not have been opened if you had not previously provided that faith.
I feel you, dog.
That's really cool.
Yep. It just gives a new perspective on all that. I know it's 12:30.
And I think everything you're talking about is actually, I think it describes a lot of what I've been experiencing this last couple of days as well. Um, it's hard to say whether or not I'm in a place of like understanding right now, but I'm in full recognition of how that trust is useful. And then I'll give you guys a little story if I may uh, command your attention for a short while.
Shoot.
Yes.
I think we're all pretty as present as we'll get.
Yeah, as present as we'll ever be, I suppose. Yeah, at this point in this conversation, I can feel my exhaustion setting in a little bit, and like my attention span waning. So I won't keep it long. Right. So like as I was like kind of like saying yesterday, like I was in such a hard place, like really, really the depths of darkness. I was like teenager level of pain. Um, my mom's been like going through like this like things like they look so grim, because her kidneys don't work. Here's the complex, right? Her kidneys don't work, which means she can't filter fluids. She has cachexia, which means her body is in a state of waste, chronic wasting, meaning it's metabolizing far too quickly. So and of course the cancer. So She has a disease that is, you know, causing a lot of inflammation and burning in her body. She has organs that are unable to filter the disease and the factors of the disease. And her body is constantly in a state of consumption, right? So she can't filter out the bad, and she can't get in the good.
Right.
And so it all seems so grim. And on top of that, her doctors want to put her back on chemo. So it's like, it's this beautiful cacophony of destruction, you know? And she had been like withholding the news about like the chemo from me. For obvious reasons. I think the biggest reason is because she knows the objection I would have to it. And I think on a deeper level, she knows that if she told me, that she would be forced to confront the reality of her situation in a way that she has trouble doing. And I think has always been her biggest weakness, is that she can't accept who she is. Or she can't accept her situation. So when I heard all this, like, I already knew about the kidney stuff, I already knew about the cancer, I already knew about the protection, but I didn't know about the chemo. So when I hear this, this is all being communicated to me in like this energy of like, my brother's getting married in December, right? And like, it's being communicated in this energy of like, well, I like, is so that it will slow down the growth of the cancer, so that I can live long enough to see Edward get married. Right. And so like, it's this mentality of like, we'll just go as long as possible, so hopefully something good happens before I die, you know? And, to be like, to be kind of like punched in the face with like, I'll tell you what, I wasn't sad that, oh, like, this looks so grim. It was, what I was experiencing was like such an intense existential frustration that like everything that I've been communicating just like hasn't been heard. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, as I said, like, I'm going to have a conversation with her about chemotherapy, and it won't be pretty. And, I gave myself a lot of thought as to like how I'm going to communicate this. I can go into a great deal about the conversation. It was a very, this conversation has been lasting days. And there's so much different like factors of energy going into this. Like the fact that like, I haven't been sleeping for the last couple of days before I got hit with this news. Like the fact that like, like we were having that conversation the other night about like living in the here and now, like and choosing to live in love and all that. Like all, like, I didn't realize it at the time, but all of these things were the exact things that I needed to tell her when I would receive this news the next day. It's just like, this whole like reverse cause and effect time thing going on here. It's really, really wooey. So yeah, so like with that, like when I sat her down to have the conversation, like I told her earlier in the day, it was like, like before, like she knew that I knew, like I said to her, like, she's like, hey, like, I went upstairs, she's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing pretty great, Mom. Like, how are you doing? And she's like, well, that's a pretty loaded question. I was like, well, Dad told me about like your meeting with your doctor. And like immediately, like every like kind of like false joy, like every mask that she had like melted, and she just like, I could see like the dread like wash over her face, and she like stood up and like hugged me. She's like, I'm so scared. And so it's like, I know you are, Mom. Listen, like this is exactly like this is a conversation we're gonna have. Like we don't have to have it right now. Like there's a lot, like like it's just like, there's so many things that like I've been wanting to tell you. Like I know there's like so many things that like you want to tell me that like we don't tell each other because we don't want to hurt each other and stuff. So like, like as we go forward, like understand that we're talking about this from a place of love. Um, and that's like been the big theme of kind of what I've been trying to communicate to her is the difference between fear and love. And so when I sat her down to have the conversation, I said to her, like, here's the whole thing about chemo, right? I have objections to it, and I'm going to give you my objections. And, I have both scientific objections and I have spiritual objections. The science is evident enough, right? Failing kidneys, chemo with kidneys, don't do it.
Mm.
And right, like the spiritual part of it that I was communicating to her is like, I was doing this exercise with her where I was going over like the history of how we've dealt with this disease, how it's the impact it's had on her, how like her mindset has changed, like things like that, where they're just kind of like describing the history of what we've gone through, right, and trying to show her that like the decisions we make when we listen to these doctors, when that tell us like these things like these things are like buying time, and slowing things down. When we listen to these are decisions we make out of fear, and like we don't have like you. I was like, I was talking to her like you don't have to like live in this fear. When you live like you're a Catholic woman, you believe in God, you believe in Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ commands you in anything above all the good deeds and all that is to have faith. So when you make decisions of fear, you're directly denying your own faith. You're denying the ability that Jesus has to heal you, the ability that God has to be a force for good in your life. Because you're choosing fear, you're choosing this thing, right? So we're talking about this. Anyway, I convinced her, right? I convinced her to not do the chemo, which is a really big deal. It's the first time she's considered something like this, right? Um, and I convinced her to take her own health very seriously and to radically change her diet and to stick with it and to not to like deviate from it no matter what. I said like these like that these aren't like the only options we have. There's all these people we can talk to, or information in these books that we have that describe exactly what we need to do and stuff like that. And so, it's kind of just like a return to really how things were in 2020 when we were attempting these things. Anyway, so like, I convinced her one to sit down, have a conversation with John Rose with me. I convinced her to sit down, have a conversation with Dr. Morse with me. There are other kind of like celebrity type cancer figures that that she loves, that I love, that like we both love together, that I convinced her to sit down and have a conversation. Because I was explaining like, it's like, listen, like you are a rich lady, right? And like every choice that you have made like has enabled you to equip yourself in this situation to like reach out to these kind of people. Like these kind of people take clients like you because you have money, and the money's not an object. I know what you value more than anything. That's your life, right? So like, forget the money and like let's talk to these professionals because I know how hard it is to do this work for you. I know how hard it is for me to help you with this. So like, let them help you with it. Just shell out the fucking bread. Let's do it. So like I think what was most powerful in this was the resolve that I could see that she had to make these decisions out of love and to accept who she is and go a different way that she's been going for the past years. And this whole past couple of days has been such a stark example of how all the anxieties and pain and suffering is indeed, as Michael described, so noble, how it's all so much worth something. Because when you go through these things, like, you can reach a point of a recognition of beauty and the choice to embody that beauty. And since these conversations I've been having with my mom, like, I feel so free, so liberated, so, like, driven, you know, like, willing to engage this with her, willing to have these conversations. I even, like, I blew up at my dad today because I heard him, like, I overheard him having a conversation with his sister on the phone, like, kind of, like, echoing the same things, like, that, um, like, the doctor said to her. And he was saying it like this. He was like, so, like, he was saying to his sister, like, because of everything that's going on, uh, we decided that, like, we're not going to do the chemo and just, like, live out the rest of her days, you know, and stuff like that. I was so mad. I was so angry when I heard that. I was like, I told him, I was like, because when I heard him saying these things on the phone, I hit my water bottle to make noise, you know, like, made a big clanging noise that, like, made him, like, stop and jump. And I was like, hang up the phone. So, right, I'm like, Dad, like, you don't understand what we're doing here. You have, like, such a fundamental, like, you're missing something in this whole process. This is not quitting chemo is not a resignation of life. It's a choice to continue living and make a better thing of it. And, you know, I was like, humor me for a second, right? And so I pull out all these books. We have tons of good books, especially this book, like, it's great information, right? I'm like, here's how to beat cancer by this doctor, how to start cancer by this doctor. Here's PhD doctor talking about beating cancer naturally, PhD this, PhD that, you know? Like, this is mountains of scientific evidence showing that you don't fucking do what you guys have been doing. So, like, you need to shut the fuck up about this negativity, about this, like, you know, and, you know, I really showed that motherfucker. And yeah, I mean, that's really the crux of, like, what's been going on, like, in a story format. Like, it's been such a massive roller coaster of dread and fear to hope. And of course, nothing's come of it quite yet, but this is why I think it was so important that, like, you know, we had this conversation a couple days ago. I think it was 7-Eleven, actually, when, you know, I said, like, the healing comes when you make a decision. I said that, again, I reinforced that idea before I even, like, knew all this stuff was going on. And I saw it truly, like, for what it was in that moment. How much the decision creates the healing. Like, I've never, it confounds me that in this darkest pit that I could find a hope is unlike anything I felt before, even when the prospect looked good. And as you said, Michael, it's an energy that's, like, so beyond describing words. You know, because I see all the things that come together to make up what it is. You know, I would have to write essays to identify all those factors. But why I'm in such a place of heart in this moment in time is because I know that it's going to lead to her healing in a way that I've never known it before. And I know we've always talked about in the past how, like, you know, to kind of look beyond the outlook, right? Like, the beneficial conclusion of this is not necessarily the proper thing. Like the good thing is not always the proper thing. Bad thing is not always the proper thing. But here's like what one thing that I'm kind of realizing in this is like we've talked about this in the past too. It's not good or bad. It's love and fear. And what we're doing here now is not achieving a good outcome. It's achieving the loving outcome. Choosing to make decisions from a place of love, from a place of acceptance, recognition, and honesty. And I know there's going to be roadblocks in the way and stuff. Anyway, just before we got on the phone, after I'd read already what you had said to me, to my mom, and then I had said, like, okay, at that point I said to you guys, like, oh, I'm ready to chat. And then you said, Ben, I did Ben Shapiro stuff, and I gotta go take a shot. So during that time, my mom, like, came down and read a passage to me from one of the books she read, this guy by Chris Work. He's a cancer survivor. He was 26 years old. Now he's, like, cancer-free. And, like, there's something, like, Chris Work was saying, like, I've had conversations with so many people that went through, like had these diseases and were even sent home to die, and chose hope, and chose to live, and chose a natural healing, and now live cancer-free. And I've had conversations with people whom I love that chose to go on chemo, and it's the same story and over again about you do the chemo, cancer goes away for a while, and then it comes back more aggressively, and then he's talking about his sister who went through that, and she died a year later. And she, like, looked me in the eyes with, like, tears, and she's like, I'm choosing to be the first in that story. I'm choosing to be the person who embodies that hope. And it's exciting, because it feels like I have a new lease on life. I've been very excited for myself because I've been doing a lot of good for myself recently, and I feel like I have a path ahead for myself. I maintain this still. I'm accepting of the outcome of whatever happens to my mom. I think what always broke me up inside is that she never never gave it an honest try. And I know what it's like to make a decision and have that decision lead to your healing. I believe that to be the core tenet of what healing represents, and I think that's where we are now. It's powerful. It's a spirit unlike anything you felt in my life. Like I'm in a place of such intuitive trust for the process. Like every other voice of negativity and doubt is so drowned away in my mind. It's just filled with this knowingness. Not just for her, and also for myself, and just for the world, this knowingness of how proper it is when you choose love. And I don't think I'll ever forget this day, forever.
That's powerful stuff, man.
Sure.
Yep. That's awesome. That's beyond words, as you said. But I feel it. I feel it, my dude. Yeah, these some crazy days. These some crazy days for sure. In a good way. Really energetic days. And I dig everything you said. God dang. Spitting, cooking.
Yeah, man.
Oh, Artie, that's why I was really grateful for what you have written today. Um, and it served as such a good like reminder and reflection for what I was feeling in that moment. And what you were saying was exactly like what I was feeling, and like how grateful I am to be like a guide in my own mother's life. And like like how we had kind of like talked about it a little bit before Michael came on, about like how it's good that like my mom got to see like what you wrote to us, because it gets to gets like to her to see that like that I'm that for other people too. um and that it's not just like an isolated condition, that my words actually have value. And I think having her get to see that like helped her see that value that of the words that I give her, and in like in a more full context. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah, as we've established, there isn't really much to say. I mean, there's certainly, of course, I'm, as you can imagine, very happy and excited for both of you, for you and your mom, that is, and there's nothing I can say to encapsulate there's nothing I could say to give you a different perspective, really, nor do I feel a need to, because it's just so glaringly obvious that you're doing what you believe is true and setting your dear mother on the right path. So instead, in the spirit of the conversations that we've been having today, I would like to just provide some words of empowerment, as I know you are embarking on a very arduous journey, along which there will be a lot of bumps on the road, and doubt. There will be moments where she's going to be feeling like shit, and she's going to be wondering if this is the right thing, and your dad's going to get mad at you, and your siblings are going to get mad at you. So, James, honestly, the story that you've told, as well as you, are really just stand as an example of what I would call a bastion of truth and love. We were talking earlier about how, we give each other, and give each other hope and courage, and honestly, there's the way that you're weathering the storm is just beyond anything that I've ever seen or heard or read, and I think it's truly remarkable, man. And I know that it's funny with all this like phrasing of the good is not always right, the bad is not always wrong, whatever. I feel like you're doing the right thing. like it. You're like, because you've already discovered the truth, and now in this world that is a reflection of our internal, you're applying it towards this truth, towards the greatest of fears. I mean, shit, like, you know, you aspire to be a holistic health provider, and to start that journey off with your mom being your first patient and having defeated late stage cancer, no less, is just like I can already see your saga being written, and it almost brings tears to my eyes, man, because
Thank you.
like, wow, man, just wow, bro, what a guy you are, James, honestly.
Thank you, Arty. Yeah.
Don't you dare change for nobody but your damn self.
I know that I could never provide a position like this for my mother if it wasn't for you guys. You guys have always served as such a strong mirror to reinforce the confidence that I have in the divine path. And I have such a propensity for self-doubt. You know, it's very hard for me to take any word and believe any word for what it is. But every word that you guys give me in the spirit of divine truth is always shown through with such clarity and dispels any doubt that I could have about what is right and what is wrong. You know, like Michael, your ability to communicate that which is most valuable in this life and all lives has enabled a path of beauty for myself and for Arty in a way that no other person could do for anyone else. It's gold.
It's hard.
This is the real alchemy.
It's fucking alchemy, dog. It's philosopher's stone, man, for real.
True that, my dude.
And you know, this is one thing like that I was like communicating to her as well, and like in line with what you said already, like I'm so grateful to be given this opportunity to do something like this. Like, you know, this is something like I really wanted to like her to realize as well, like even how Michael always says, like how these situations, this suffering is its purpose is not to hurt you. It's never to harm you. God doesn't give you experiences to harm you. It's all a teacher. And to be given an opportunity to have like the deepest teacher, the strongest teacher, you know, this is something like that, like it can't be taken for granted. It's so in your fucking face that like, you know, that I've been given an opportunity to not live in doubt, you know. How could anyone live in doubt when presented with such a scenario? And despite like how hard it is, scary it is, like, you know, like you guys having been faced with impending death of a loved one, and or at least a parent. I don't know your life story. Um, and yet you operate under the same parameters of truth and faith that it took me so much pain and suffering to come to the realization of. And it just speaks so many volumes to the value of your soul and your intuition and your consciousness that it doesn't take such a cruel teacher to imbue you guys with the power of that love. And even with such a cruel teacher, I still live in periods of doubt, even greater doubt. And it brings me so much value. It brings me so much knowingness to see you guys come to the light of truth without having to be like stabbed in the gut. In a different way, of course. I'm not comparing experiences.
I'm
Or at
hearing
least
you,
the
man.
value of experiences.
Yeah, we know what you mean, definitely. You guys are so good with your words today. I like. I'm feeling it. I'm in the feels. I'm here. I'm just like hard to.
That's because the heart energy is so fucking powerful today, man.
Group cooking.
Heart's cooking. No, it's for dang sure.
I got that lamb sauce on deck, dog.
True. True.
Cooked to perfection.
None of any of this beauty could ever have been possible without encountering you guys, without having you in my life. And it's like the knowledge that it was inevitable that you guys would be with me in this journey. It makes it so much more beautiful. It's like it wouldn't have been possible without you, but it never would have been without you. And therefore it was always possible and is always possible.
Yeah. It is a beautiful thing, man. Definitely. It's like a script or a play. All this reverse cause and effect stuff.
I heard a new analogy for it, which I have never used before. So I've always used the analogy of, a written story. I like this one even better. I said it earlier. It's like an orchestral symphony. It's like we're the conductors of this symphony. The experiences we have is like, like when the conductor makes the action to like, get the violin to play, and it's like the experiences that we live is like the actor for this music to unfold.
James, I don't mean to, I by no means intend to fud this analogy, despite your blatant fudding of me saying that your saga is being already written. But it was Michael who long ago, once upon a time, said that everything is divinely orchestrated and that we are in fact the conductors.
Well, hey, that Michael guy is pretty smart. He knows what he's talking about.
Dude, we orchestras.
A brilliant lad.
Thanks, guys. No, it's legit though. It's legit. Yeah. And this beauty is always there. It's always there, It's like you feel it, you forget it. It's okay. But as long as you know it's always there. That's what it means to trust the process, is that beauty is always there, even when you don't see it. that's still all. Creation is beautiful. That's it. That even if you don't see it, you know, and yeah,
Who would have ever
definitely
thought?
Brodies.
Who would have ever thought that the three of us, who were at some point teenagers, smoking weed every day and playing video games, and at odds with the world around us, end up as a trio of psychopaths who see beyond the veil, perhaps with more clarity than anyone else, at least that we know of. Definitely out of anyone we know of.
You know, perhaps, buddy, you're here right now.
So I'm saying, great.
I'm at risk of perhaps leaking the power of what I feel. I'll say that the faith that I feel for my future and the knowingness that I feel inside of me has given me a resolve to never forget again. To no longer go back and forth between doubt and knowingness. And I'm resolving myself, as much as any fallible human being could, to truly never forget this experience. To never forget the importance of living in love. And I think, and I know, knowing that what I am feeling is very much what you guys are feeling. I think we're very much on the cusp of never forgetting.
I feel that too. I actually giga feel that with these thoughts I've been having the last few days of like moving out and understanding my anxiety and stuff like that. I super dig it. Super dig it.
Giga.
Super dig it.
Super giga. It comes in layers, you know, like it can. Yeah, it's like layers, you know. It's like layers of like you always remember at least some amount, you know. But then you could remember kind of more, or you could feel it, and you don't have to remember anything. You're in it. I still
I
think.
was about to say the difference is probably once you start feeling it internally and you kind of like reawaken that part of your intuition.
Right. But the more we go through these experiences, the more we acquire wisdom and big data, big data, through this, through all this, that um, those layers dissolve, in that it becomes more and more impossible. It's just like what Arty said, that it's feels automatic because it is, or it's automated because it's just impossible to forget. Once you remember, you can never forget. Um, but it comes in layers, right? So there's still a lot of work to be done, definitely.
Absolutely.
And so the it will come in layers, and there will be times, most likely, where we won't feel it, but the layers dissolve, and that's, I reckon, our consciousness, the boundary between our conscious and our subconscious um, energies and things that hold us back in our subconscious and tensions, everything that doesn't allow us to feel the beauty of creation or of the moment or the truth in ourselves and of our everything, right? That those things, yeah, will dissolve, and it definitely is automatic, and it's a beautiful process. Even when consumed by fear, it always um, that trust always brings the orientation, even when you don't feel it, right? Because not feeling it and feeling it would all still all part of the same automatic process. That not, you know, I don't have to clarify this, right? Automatic meaning like obviously it's not like you don't do anything, but it's just there's no stopping it. There's no stopping ascension. No one's stopping this train. Bill Gates ain't stopping it. Big data ain't stopping it. Fuck Facebook.
Fuck AI.
Fuck AI.
Fuck Tom Graham.
fuck those goyams.
Big fungus will never stop.
Big fungus never stopping. Yeah. And yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. The wisdom banks are getting filled up, and I think
Yeah, you're right. You're
think we'll
right.
feel
You're
that.
right in saying that. I'm sorry, did I interrupt?
No, I was about done. I was saying that, and we're all feeling that definitely. Is the times definitely in different ways.
You're right. You're right in saying that. The nature of energy is the ebb and flow. The feelingness will numb itself in time, and I know a part of that numbness is due to the fact of the regression into certain unhelpful habits and stuff like that. But I have a feeling that this wisdom is going to serve as a new baseline for what's to come.
Yep. Definitely. No, I definitely feel that. I definitely feel it. Coming from you right now. Definitely. There's certain moments that really do kind of fuck our ass like really good enough that it's like you can't forget, man. Like because out of that darkness comes the biggest. So it's like that. Out of that darkness comes the biggest transformations, and that's where, like you said, the baseline layers of that forgetfulness get dissolved, and there's just more of a pull to that automatically. So definitely. I feel like this last days are creating that baseline for sure. I also feel how to say. I also could say this is new territory. Like it's new territory for me. I could like it's not a lot of new territory, right? So it's also like old territory, right? It always is, but
This is pretty fucking fresh territory.
yeah, it's fresh as fuck.
For all of us.
Genuinely, yep. This is lit, boys. It's lit.
It's really something. It's something else, man. It's like I know something cool that's been happening to myself recently. I know it'll change again in time, but I haven't been on YouTube for like a week.
Right on.
And I noticed it happened to me a little while ago. Like I've been pretty incensed with my own motivation. I've been working on my real estate. This real estate thing, it brings me a lot of self-worth and pride because it's the first time since school that I'm embarking on a project for myself in my life.
Right.
And it's the first time that I'm feeling that I'm taking it seriously. So that in itself is, has been very powerful for me. And I've been working diligently for myself, but then when these last couple of days, YouTube has always served as like this example of like a reflection of my complacency and bad habits.
YouTube is a tube that sucks you.
Mm-hmm. and
Mm.
it like it felt like it didn't even feel like wrong or anything like that, like because I've just been doing something else these past like week, um, and like these last couple of days, like being able to see like how different it is, like how much like I just don't want that complacency, and how much I feel the desire to actually like enact change. Um, it's just cool, man. It's just so fucking cool.
I feel you, dude. It's fresh, fresh
And I
as
can't,
fuck.
and I thought these past couple of days that the reason I can't sleep is because of anxiety. And it wasn't until we started talking tonight that I realized the reason I can't sleep is because I feel like a kid who's going to go to a school zoo field trip the next day.
Hmm.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Right on, my dude. Right on. Hey.
And with that, I gotta go to my field trip tomorrow, guys.
I feel you, dude. Immortality
Put the
and
nail in the
wholeness
coffin,
ahoy.
baby.
What'd you say, Arty?
Put the nail in the coffin on this conversation.
Yeah, I feel we all felt that it was a good time to stop right there. I feel like.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, hey, immortality and wholeness ahoy. Creation is beautiful forever and ever till the end of. There's no end. Lol.
Alrighty, I really liked what you said earlier in your message when you start off with purported death.
Yeah. I instantly erased death and I'm like reported death.
That's funny. That's good.
Like I realized like how much like I kind of like analogize death in my life, and how much of kind of like a psyop the concept of death is, for obvious reasons. I'm feeling it with the new knowingness. Before I go, Michael, I just want to say there's a hair that's been dangling off the front of the
Dude, I freaking noticed that too for a second. I'm like, what's going on over here? But then I did nothing about it.
I also want to say, just like as a test of energy, like the past like couple of hours, I am like periodically going like this, like, and it like makes like the hair like ripple and blow.
This one?
I saw you doing that. I'm like, this guy must have like a really dusty phone screen or laptop screen.
Anyways, it served as such a cool example of how connected we are at this very moment.
Right on. Right on, my duder.
You know what it feels like, Michael? It feels like that day we took acid in Pennsylvania.
With Arty?
Except this time. No, the one with Joseph and Anton.
Yeah.
And Jack.
No, Jack wasn't there. No, but he was there with you.
And was there, and Dario was there.
Oh, no.
Most toxic group of Avengers you could ever assemble.
Yeah, that was nutty.
And I've never felt such an intense connection with another person's mind as I did on that day. And in this very moment, I can positively say I feel exactly that.
Bro, we need to do that S3.
We are doing that as three in this very moment. And that's why I felt it so strongly, Michael, when you said this is new territory. It's exactly that sensation without the encouragement of potent hallucinogens.
Yeah. Well, the acid is a little too intense. It's a little lot. It's a little in your face. But this is really nice.
This is the power of pure spirit connecting the heart
Right on.
For real, dude. For real. Simulation of consciousness. Fucking fuck physicality. Synchronicity only. Fuck time. Synchronicity only. Shit's nutty. In the best way.
122-715-2023.
Nice.
Who's that?
Date and time. It's the best day and time of my goddamn life.
Nice.
203?
No, it's 123.
Now it's 1, 2, 3.
Fuck time. Synchronicity only. I only know 1, 2, 3.
You know what 1, 2, 3 means, right? 1, 2, 3 is the beginning.
Nice.
And I think that's where we'll end.
I dig it. I dig
Fire.
it. Fire. This guy's spitting.
Spitting, bro.
Spitting.
You're literally a camel right now.
Spitting. Nice.
I'll see you guys soon.
Love you,
Love
man.
you guys.
Love you, Arty. Love you, James. It was
I love you, Michael. I love you, Arty.
it was fun.
Love you guys too, bro. Y'all have a good night.
Yep. It was lit.
We'll see you.
See you, duders.
I will see you.
Yep.
I will see you.
I said we'll see you.
Nice. Peace, brodies.
Peace.
Peace, dude.
Peace.